Hi everybody, I am just giving you a quick update here from Alaska. I am perfectly fine. I was at a school during the earthquake, so that was a little intense. It was kind of a chore getting the kids to settle down a little bit, but everything was okay. All the kids are okay. Everyone's going home now, so we're doing good, and we'll just see what the extent of this earthquake is now after kind of had the chance to get all the big immediate stuff squared away. So yeah, definitely keep us on your thoughts and prayers. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Hi, my name is Jamin Goecker. I'm a realtor in South Central Alaska, and my mission is to help people achieve intentional, significant legacies for themselves and for their families by coaching them in real estate. Now, today we're going to be talking about earthquakes, and if you are looking at moving to Alaska or you've done any kind of research on Alaska, I'm pretty sure at this point you know earthquakes happen up here. So, in today's video, we're going to be talking about just how prevalent earthquakes are up here, how Alaskans kind of perceive it. I'll kind of explain to you what it's like being in an earthquake, because I've been through a number of, they call them big ones up here, been through a number of those as well, and just kind of try to answer as many questions you might have about earthquakes. Before we get started though, make sure you give this video a like, make sure that you subscribe. And as always, if you have any questions, make sure you post those in the comments section down below, and I'll be happy to answer those as best I can. Now, without further ado, let's jump into it. When you live in Alaska, you kind of just take it for granted that you're going to have to go through a number of earthquakes. And this is something that I've just kind of known and lived with for years. You get a number of kind of small shakes that'll come through every now and then. Usually just feels like, if you feel it at all, it's just kind of like a quick jolt, and that's the end of it. But occasionally you'll get big earthquakes that are going to kind of roll through every now and then. Some of the big ones is obviously going to be the one back in '64, the 9.1 or 9.2 magnitude earthquake. The biggest, most recent one that I went through was one back in 2018, November 30th. That was a 7.2 earthquake. And, I was, teacher at the time, and we were in a classroom just kind of talking before we got started with the day. It was a Friday, and everything just started shaking. And I mean, for a second, you're not really sure what's going on. And then okay, well, it's an earthquake. This one was not a jolt though. It was very much made its presence known, and things started like shaking around. So I mean, the best thing you do at that point, just grab a student, grab a child, and just jump under the table and kind of hope for the best. Just let it go ahead and pass. And so we're sitting there, and this goes on for, it felt like forever. I think it was about 40 seconds or so. And everything's rocking back and forth. And the first 10 seconds or so of an earthquake like that, you're like, okay, this is fine, we're gonna be good, no big deal. And then it just keeps going and going and going and going. And some of the kids started crying out there. The lights went out because obviously in an older building, it's not gonna maintain its power as well. And eventually it stops. And everyone is obviously going to be pretty shook up from that. So got up, obviously got all the kids out the door. We had to, the whole room is just trashed. Obviously books are all over the place, tables are where they need to be, but we're just getting the kids outside. It's early in the morning in Alaska in the wintertime, so it's still going to be pretty dark, but we got them out there. Right next door, we had some elementary kids that were in there, and had to go like knock down the door to get in there. That sounds way more dramatic than it was. There were some books that were collapsed in front of the door, so I had to like kick it in that way to get inside. But get in there, they're obviously pretty hysterical at that point. Luckily, we did have some cookies that were sitting right there, ready to go. So I just grabbed those, took those with us when we went outside, and kind of handed those off to them. And largely okay for the most part. Obviously still pretty shook up. The thing is, when you have an earthquake that size, when we're all huddled out there in our lines, is you have an earthquake that size, they're going to have what are called aftershocks. So the earthquake that went through was about 7.1, and you're going to have a number of 5s and 6 earthquakes that are going to be going through. So people are getting pretty shook up from that. It was kind of an older church where I was teaching, and I realized I'm starting to smell some gas coming from the church, so that's not very good. I have somebody, we go down into the basement real quick because we've got to get that gas shut off, or we're going to have a whole new set of issues. And I have the person, I'm like, okay, you just stay here at the doorway, and I'm going to go through this stereotypical church storage room that is all cluttered. Or it was cluttered before it started. Now it's just a complete chaotic mess, and I'm having to step over stuff, trying to get back to the boiler room to try to shut something off. I've got my phone on, I'm looking around at everything, and it kind of dawns on me, hey, if another big rumble happens, it's going to be very hard for me to get back through all that mess. This is going to be pretty tough. And I'm trying to figure out which one it is, and then the ground starts shaking again. I'm like, well, this lever looks important, so I just started pulling stuff down and got out of there as quick as I could. And so we got the gas turned off, didn't have any big issues. So earthquakes like that, they are not going to be particularly common, okay? The thing that I do want to point out, even though it was pretty unnerving to have an earthquake like that kind of roll through, it's not something like what we had back in 1964. That earthquake flattened all the homes, most of the homes and buildings in the entire city. This time it went through, and there was damage, yeah, and there was a lot of personal items that kind of got destroyed when they just fell off of shelves and stuff. But by and large, not always, but by and large, most of the buildings were okay. And that's because the buildings are actually designed to kind of flex and go with the land if it has to. You'll see a lot of hairline cracks and stuff along the seams of drywall. But for the most part, the buildings here are designed for earthquakes. So that's one of the big legacies we have from the '64 earthquake. Has this been interesting for you so far? If it has, make sure you give this video a like. And if you have any questions specifically on earthquakes and what to do when you're in an earthquake, make sure you put that in a comment down below, and I'll do my best to answer as many of those as I can. All right, like I said, earthquakes like that are not super common. You'll get something like that that'll roll through every 5-10 years or something like that. I was through another one when I was younger as well, so you do get them. It's not super common though. What I would say though is you need to decide if this kind of a natural phenomenon is going to be something you're going to be okay with. Some people, it's just part of the experience of living in Alaska, okay? We're going to get earthquakes. Luckily, our buildings are kind of designed for it, so you're probably going to be fine as long as you follow the procedures and protocols you need to do during the time of an earthquake. What I will say though is that that's going to be something that you just have to kind of get used to up here and adapt when it happens. Luckily, we have a culture up here where when something like that happens, everyone just pulls together as a community, and we get through it, and we come out stronger on the other side. Actually, fun fact, during that earthquake back in November 2018, a bunch of windows were smashed open on stores, and there was no looting. Okay, nothing was getting stolen, even though all the merchandise was there just free for the taking. That's just kind of ingrained in our culture that you don't try to take advantage of a natural disaster like that up here, regardless who you are. Now, again, deciding if this is something that you're comfortable with is going to be something only you can decide. What I will say though is that kind of the Midwest, Texas, Oklahoma, Tornado Alley, they're going to have tornadoes. The East Coast, they're going to be dealing with a lot of hurricanes. And you go to different parts of the U.S. and they're all going to have different natural phenomenons that they have to deal with. Earthquakes just happens to be Alaska's because we are technically on the Ring of Fire. Ultimately, only you can make that decision for yourself. If this is something where you're going to be okay with it, most Alaskans up here are just fine. That's not to say that we like earthquakes, but it is to say that we've kind of just accepted. Okay, well, I don't have to deal with hurricanes. I don't have to deal with tornadoes. Okay, well, I don't even have to deal with thunderstorms either, for that matter. I can handle an occasional earthquake. So that's just kind of the deal that you make with the devil up here, and a lot of Alaskans have kind of just accepted that as a cost of living up here, and that's just going to go with the territory. So if you do have questions about earthquakes, make sure that you do post those in the comments section down below. If you want to get a hold of me directly, do make sure that you reach out to me through my Facebook page. The link for that is going to be down below. And if you're wanting to start looking for properties up here as well, make sure that you utilize my app. That is going to be video on describing how to get that set up is going to be in a video right after this. So I do appreciate your time, and thanks for watching. Downloading my app is pretty simple. You simply scroll to the description section of my videos, click on the link there. It's going to take you to my website. From there, scroll down, hit download app. It'll take you to a place where you enter in your phone number. Enter that in, click send link. It's going to text you a link to the App Store. And from there, you'll have to click on that, enter in your email address, and then it's going to register you to the app, and you'll be able to start modifying your search. You can modify number of bedrooms, bathrooms, property type. You have a lot of modifications you can do on there, or just draw a shape to it. From there, you'll have the ability to go and just browse through, create your own specific saved searches on there that's going to make sense for you. Go ahead and add notes just so it makes sense. And that's going to be kind of the basic search capabilities. There are a lot of extra bonuses and things to this that make it really beneficial, like walking you through the entire process as a buyer or seller and giving you all the details that's involved with each one of those steps. So never at any point are you going to be lost in the process. So we've kind of just scratched the surface here, but that's just to get you started.